You're watching Mohawk TV's special presentation of Candidates Night for the 2012 Mohawk Council of Kahnawake elections.
William Joseph Daibo, just want to clarify that. What I'd like to talk about is that a lot of things that I said on the radio, I do want to follow up on the safety of our children, our education system, and what it is that I'm tired of hearing everybody saying that they're sending their child off the reserve for a better education. I don't believe that should be. I really believe that we should get our teachers, sit down with them, find out what has to be done, how it's going to be done with them, to get them, I guess you could say, properly trained to teach our children the way it should be. I want to be able to sit here and be proud of Kahnawake and tell everybody from the outside, tell us, I wish my child can go to school in Kahnawake. I wish that can happen, and hopefully it will, and I am going to push on that. Again, the safety of our children. I mean, every day I pass at the quarry, we see all our children swimming over there. It's not safe. We're lucky not more had happened there. What I would like to do is try to get a hold of the property owners to find out what we can do to make it safer for them. We have to get to this. And the children need a bigger voice. The children have a voice. I coach in town hockey, and amongst other things, I deal with a lot of the children. I hear a lot of them, what they're talking to me about. I mean, I'm talking from ranges from all over the place. I mean, it's really important that they have a bigger say. We have to lead them the right way. Everything has to be there for them. I mean, right now, they're telling me they don't have trust in anybody. Personally, they're telling me to myself, Billy, we don't trust these people, we don't trust these people. I think that has to be changed. There has to be trust back into our council system. You know, and again, they all tell me the same thing, is definitely we need a change. And we do. One way or another, we need a change, but we need it for the benefit. And another thing I would like to check on is, you know, why are we worried about the way everything's going with Quebec? I think what we should do is get down, talk with our neighboring communities, the Native communities all over the place, and talk about working on a trade agreement with them. We're having so much headaches with everything going on. We need to sit down with these communities, and unofficially I was already checking with one community already on this situation. But I really think it'd be important if we can get down with them and sit with all of them across the board. That's both sides of the border, everything like that, and get that thing. That's our inherent right. We should be able to trade anything we want with other Native communities. And this is something that a lot of people that I've been speaking to really feel strongly about. And I believe it should be done, and it can be done, and it will be done. We all have to get in there, we all have to do it, we all have to sit down, united as one, and take care of these things. I mean, everybody's bickering about other things. I think we should do is put everything aside and be the people we're supposed to be, and be united and talk and get this done. We have to. There is no reason for anything doing what we're going with the schooling, with everything else that's going on in here. If we would stand and be united on this, any of the circumstances, it'll be a lot better. I really, really believe we can do all this. I feel it here that I know it can be done. It has to be done. We have to get out there. We have to help our children. We have to help ourselves. We have to help all Native communities, and we can do it. Just like saying we can use even for the Crees, to work with them, get a trading agreement. They can send everything their way, we can send our stuff their way. I mean, we have to do something, because Quebec is interfering with everything that we're trying to get done. And okay, and I really believe that we have to get into this big time. There's too much. The schooling, we have to get done. It's very important. We have to sit down, again, like I said a while ago, with our teachers. I was just trying to speed everything up. I only had 5 minutes. And we have to take care of this. We have to bring it back to our hearts. We have to be Kahnawake. It's very important that we get back together, stand as one, and really be again. I mean, there's too many different things, too many different stuff that's going on, and I think it all can be dealt with properly if we would sit and talk the way it should be done.
As I said, my name is Peggy Mayo Standa. My parents were Frank and Patty Mayo, and married to Winston Standa. You're gonna hit me in the mouth soon. Anyways, I'm running for council, and I truly believe in what I'm doing. And this is going to be the 11th time that I'm running for council. And what I've done in the past is that I've focused on a lot of the issues. I used to work very, very hard in the area of justice. But over the years, I found that the area of justice has grown to evolve to where we are today, where we're very close to the community decision-making process. And I feel that it's growing, and it's going in that area, but I also feel that it's a little bit slow. However, looking at the new term and maybe different things coming about, maybe we can make it faster, because before we get any other laws, we have to have our Justice Act in place first. And I'm hoping that we can get that soon, because then that will encompass everything else that's hindering us. And then one of the other things that I feel very strongly what's happening within this community is the lack of dollars. We're faced with a global economy that's affecting each and every one of us here in this community. And it's only the beginning of what's going to happen, because we know that there's no new dollars coming from the federal government or the provincial government. And as far as the governments care, they really don't, because all they have is what we need to have is a food, shelter, and roof over our head, and that's the basic necessities of what we have. But in overall, we don't have any new dollars coming from the feds. And as far as they're concerned, the bottom line is we can just become ordinary, regular citizens in the community and start paying tax. That's what the federal government would like. But that's why we have to fight for the jurisdiction that we have in this community, and to strengthen it, and to make sure that we as a community stay who we are, and we fight for all the things that we believe in, and that to make this community a better place to live for all of us, in a safe environment. And also, I'm a very strong advocate for women's rights, and ensuring that women get everything that's entitled to them, and whatever way we can do to help them. I'm a strong supporter of the elders in the community, and for the curatorship issues that people face on a day-to-day basis. And part of those issues are dealing with people that are incapacitated to make decisions, be it financial, medical, whatever it may be. And we have no recourse other than to go to the Quebec government. And it's time for us to say to the Quebec government to stay out of our business. And it's up to us to create our own laws. And we can't do that unless we have the Judicial Act in place, the Court Act. So we need to move strongly and fast on that. And we also have to look at the young people in our community to think out of the box. Because right now, everybody is focused on getting a job in Kahnawake. Unfortunately, there's not enough jobs. There's not enough industry. We have the tobacco industry, which I still have a lot of faith, a lot of hope that we can achieve something in creating a law that would be suitable for everybody and everyone to prosper from. And they are the ones that have created 600 plus jobs. Now, with that industry going down, all these people are resorting to social assistance. The roles have gone up, they have basically doubled. And right now, everyone is looking for a job. Where do you find it? You have to think out of the box and go outside and look. There are jobs if you look for it. And I can attest to the fact that back when I started out in the 70s to go out and work, late in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, the provincial buses that that came to the community every day was filled to Kahnawake from 6 to 9 in the morning. And then in the evening from 4 to 6, it was filled to Kahnawake because everyone worked and everyone did the best that they could to make the best living they can for themselves. And once you get a job here, granted, it's lovely, it's beautiful. You don't have to worry about traffic anymore. You don't have to worry about anything other than the fact that you're right here at home. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to work here. However, there are other places that you can find work if you really want to work. And we have to find innovative ways to get young people off of social assistance, create training for them, create programs for them, and hopefully to find them jobs. And I think that's one of the most important things for the future. And also for the non-insured benefits, which is health. It's all health issues. It's dealing with your eyes, dental, prescriptive medication, and the medical mobile. All of that right now is hanging by a thread, but my time is up. So if you want me, vote for me. Yeah.
My mother is Margaret Thomas. She's sitting over there, so I got to watch what I say. Her parents were Frank Thomas and Roseanne Jacobs. My father was Matty Daibo. His parents were Frank Daibo and Madeline Norton. I'm running for council because I've gained a lot of experience working for Kahnawake for the last 12 years alongside of Mohawk Council. I think, as some of them are already saying, there is a lot that we can do, but we need to start finding ways of working together. We need more people involved in things. We talked a lot about self-sufficiency. We hear that going around, but we can't do it just in small groups. We've got to start pulling together to do it. There's a lot of things around us that we can make use of. You know, like the Seaways right there. I mentioned that on the radio today, and we're not getting anything out of it. We talk about creating businesses and jobs. Well, who knows better than that than the business people? They need to be involved in some things. We need to include them in things that are going on in Kahnawake if we're looking for the future. Our elders are around. We need to talk to them about what occurred at their time to better understand some of the things we're facing today so we can make a good future for our kids tomorrow. It's not only about us here today and ignoring everything else. So there's a lot of things that are going on, even out there with Canada. They're passing a lot of things that are going to affect us in one way or another. So we need to start looking at some of these issues and finding ways of dealing with them. The MRI is coming. That's going to affect a lot of areas. That's the matrimonial real interests. That has to do with the breakup of relationships, and Canada is going to give the provincial court the responsibility for hearing these issues, and the Quebec court is going to make a decision on who gets the house and whatever. So a lot of these things are going to be taken out of our hands. That also has to do with wills and estates, because the court can decide that you can't will your house to anybody, it'll go to somebody else. So there's a lot of things that are coming that we need to start talking about and dealing with. We need the community involved in these things so that we're aware, and together we decide how we want to handle them and not let somebody else always be making decisions for us. We talk about the cutbacks. Yeah, there's always cutbacks coming, but what are we doing internally to talk about where we're going and how are we going to support ourselves? We can't just stand here and complain about the cutbacks all the time. We've got to start doing something for ourselves in order to move forward in a good place in the future. So rather than start repeating a lot of things, I'm not going to use up my 5 minutes. I mean, there's question period coming later. Essentially, that's what I'm looking at. Now,
I would say who my father is, but I think most of you will hold it against me at this point, so I'm going to leave that one out of there. First thing I'd like to do, ironically, is actually thank the chiefs that have been in there for the last 3 years. I've been in that position 5 years. I know how difficult it can be. I know how, in a way, gratifying it can be, but there's a lot of criticism and not a lot of positives that come out of it. So ironically, I would like to thank them for the 3 years of service that they did give to the community. But with that, compliment comes a little bit of criticism too. And I guess the reason why I'm deciding to get back into politics. Hopefully all the chiefs have given their best. But quite honestly, in my opinion, the best that they have given is not good enough. And quite honestly, I think we need better for the community. Now, like I said, they've done what they could, and good for them. But in certain aspects, I think it is time to move on. Change is not a bad thing in life. If you can make change on your terms, it's a lot easier to do. When change is forced upon you and you're not ready for it, that's where a lot of things become difficult. So as a community, we are going in some very odd places. We have to understand that the past is not going to be our future. The biggest thing that I think we need is a real good, sound economic plan. The days of, I'll say, the big three, where people worked for council, people worked for education, people worked for the hospital, the organizations, those days, in my opinion, they're not going to be there anymore like they used to be. We have to get used to the idea of creating a lot more jobs in town. That right now, the town survives on the private business owners in this community, quite honestly. And that's where the future is going to be. Small to medium-sized businesses, enterprises. That's where things have to go. You're going to hear rhetoric about government cutbacks, funding being cut, and things like that. Some of it's true, maybe some of it's a smokescreen. But regardless, I was brought up in the sense of training, education, where you train people, you help people get jobs, you help create businesses. I did that for 10, 12 years before I even entered politics. I'm good at that, simply put. I know how to train people. I know how to help them accomplish their individual goals, and more importantly, I'll say, plans, group plans per se, on how to train people. You have to, it starts with the individual, and that's what I've always found the problem with our town, our community. Sometimes they want to hit a home run, they want something big, they want jobs for 200, 300, 400 people. I see it differently. You start one individual at a time. When you build a house, one nail at a time, one brick at a time, one piece of wood at a time. It's not easy, it's slow, but we have to start somewhere. The biggest thing I remember when I first started with the government, I went to some INAC training in Quebec City. They were so fearful of Kahnawake, right by the seaway, that we were going to create a free trade economic zone, and that all the non-native communities were going to be just, in the word, pissed off. Why? No taxes, things like that. 25 years later, I can't believe 25 years later, I'm still looking at the same piece of property with no progress whatsoever that has been made. I'm not getting any younger. When I was 20, I said by 45, no way in heck did I think the same thing would be, I'd be looking at the same thing now 25 years later. I'm pretty much past half my working career. So I got maybe 20, 25 years left if I want or if I choose. Now I'm starting to think more and more, what do we need to help people get jobs in town? What do we need? What do we have to do? We have to start somewhere. We have to start bringing industry. We have to start training people. We've heard it, or I've dealt with it 10 years, and it never really got done, quite honestly. Now that's not to blame a certain council or certain council members, but reality is the collective that has not been accomplished. So that's something that I need to do when if I'm fortunate enough to get back into council, because like I said, I was fortunate for 5 years. This is not a right. No one's obliged to be a council. It's a privilege. You're chosen by the community and by the people, and you have to remember that. That's the most important thing, is when people come through your door on an individual basis, you have to be willing to listen to them, because every idea counts. What is good for me is not good for others, okay? So that's what I need to do, is more or less on an economic side, is get back in there and do what I know I need to do for the community. 5 years, I had fun. I made some friends, made some enemies, but at the same point, like I said, that's where we need to go. Thank you.
We'll be back with more coverage of Candidates Night after this quick commercial break.